start again. It's a rich thing.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about whether or not this team, the Chicago Bulls team, should be blown up this season. Now, what I mean by should the Chicago Bulls team be blown out this season basically means should the star players of this team get traded, and will we start again on a rebuild, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bull Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you think this team at the end result, when it's all said and done, will be blown up and everybody will get traded. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this video is that I've seen so many comments, and I really believe it. Honestly, almost every single comment is saying someone has to go. Billy Donovan has to go. DeMar DeRozan has to go. Zach LaVine has to go. Nikola Vucevic has to go. Patrick Williams should have left 2 years ago. Kobe White. There are so many guys, ladies and gentlemen, that we're talking about right now that everybody wants to get traded. So I want to give my 2 cents on the situation about whether or not this team will end up going in the way that many people feel it will go down these days. Here's what I have to say. First things first, I think a lot of people are talking about recent rumors about Zach LaVine and the Dallas Mavericks. Maybe this is something where, again, a lot of people are probably getting this information and like the idea of Zach LaVine getting traded to the Dallas Mavericks. All things considered, look, I just don't see how any of these guys get traded until 2 things happen. One, the coaching staff ends up getting fired. Whenever that will be, we will never know. But I find it extremely hard to believe that any of our superstar players will get traded before we try something new with the coaching staff. And number 2, until Lonzo Ball comes back. Now, Lonzo Ball, we simply just do not know when he's going to return. Things look like they're heading in a slow direction, but there is progression being made every single time that they talk about Lonzo Ball. So at the end of the day, his situation is unknown. And the same goes with Billy Donovan. His situation is also unknown. So at the end of the day, I can't sit here and tell you I think this team is going to get traded. Every single one of our top players are going to get traded for young guys, for role players, and most importantly for picks, so we can start a rebuild again until we see those 2 things happen. And if those 2 things happen, again, let's just say Lonzo Ball returns in February, Billy Donovan gets fired in February. Those 2 things happen. We get a good quality head coach, and then we get, obviously, Lonzo Ball back and hopefully at his best as soon as possible. And we still struggle. We still don't find rhythm. We still end up being a really mediocre team at best. By the time the offseason comes around, I see this team potentially getting switched up. But I don't see anything majorly happening this year just because of those 2 things, ladies and gentlemen. There's been a lot of talk that Lonzo Ball might not even return in the early New Year's and could be returning around March and April. That's almost a whole year out of action for Lonzo Ball. That is definitely something that can potentially happen. It's going to be more than a year, actually. And for Billy Donovan, I honestly don't know when that's going to happen, if it's ever going to happen. So I guess that bears my answer, ladies and gentlemen. I just believe that there has to be more things done before we're going to see guys like DeMar DeRozan, guys like Zach LaVine, guys like Vucevic, guys like, again, probably those 3 guys, because they're our main guys that will initiate a rebuild. I just can't see any of those guys getting traded right now, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're going to have to retool. I think this team is going to have to get some other players in, and maybe you have to trade assets like Kobe White. That will be, again, a really good asset that we have, and we could get something in return there to try again. But I just can't see it. I can't see this Bulls team. I can't see AK and Eversley and the front office saying, this team has no hope. Let's start again. I just can't see it because they're the one that built this team, ladies and gentlemen. And I think they want to give it every single possible chance to succeed. And with that in mind, I don't think any of the players that we've mentioned are going to get traded, at least until the All-Star break or after the All-Star break. Until the trade deadline occurs, again, maybe at the very late deadline at best, I can't see any of these guys getting moved. But the real question is, not necessarily will it happen, because that's not up to any of us. The real question is, should this team get, I guess, traded? Should the stars of this team get traded, and should we go and look again? And I personally feel like the answer is going to be no as well. I think it's way too early to say that this team cannot work in its entirety. I think there has to be changes made, yes. And I think it's going to have to rely on a lot on what we do next year as well with this team. But guys like DeMar DeRozan, as much as people want them to get traded, I don't want DeMar DeRozan to get traded, at least not yet. At least until I feel there is no possible hope that anything can make us better. When we have everything that we need and we're still at a very, very bad stage, then that's when you consider trading guys like DeMar DeRozan. But we're not at that point right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're still too early to figure out that point. Zach LaVine has not been very good this year, in my opinion, and his last game was the worst game of his whole year. But we just signed Zach LaVine to a 5-year max contract deal. Do you really think the front office is going to get rid of Zach LaVine? And I personally also feel like it is too early to say, let's get rid of Zach LaVine. If the offer's on the table when we literally have no other way to go, then that's when you make a deal for Zach LaVine. And Vucevic, at the end of the day, I doubt there'll be many teams giving Vucevic a call realistically, just because he's on an expiring deal, unless they're a contending team or they want to take on a bad contract. I don't know any other team that would want Nikola Vucevic. It'd have to be a very special, I guess, situation. And DeMar DeRozan, again, if we really want to trigger a rebuild, that's probably the guy that we look to trade, because he probably has the highest trade value. We could get picks out of that. We may even get a young player out of that in return as well. But all things considered, ladies and gentlemen, I do think the Bulls are going to try and look for other ways before they just say this team has no hope. And whether it's the right decision or the wrong decision, that's the decision I see occurring. And I just can't see anything being done by I guess, before the All-Star break. I can't see anything being done in January, in December. I can't see anything being done in those months, just because I feel like it is still too early for the front office to be saying, it's time to make a rebuild. A lot of the fans, including myself, we react a lot. We react to what we're seeing and we hate what we see. And we should react the way that we react. It is what it is. When the Bulls win 1 out of their last 7 games, you have every right to react however you feel. But at the end of the day, the front office is not going to be as reactionary as the Chicago Bulls are. They have a long-term, I guess, future to build as well. It's not just based on what we see in the last 7 games. But again, maybe when it's all said and done, maybe by March, the decision will be made. And that's a decision they're going to have to live with as well. But personally, I don't think the Bulls will blow this team up. And most importantly, I don't think it's time for the Bulls to blow this team up. Because that's kind of how the video, at least from my perspective, that's the direction I'm going down. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree. And whether we do or not, let's just hope the next game against the Boston Celtics will be a better game, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's what we need. We need to see some elements of hope, and we just want to see a win at this point. I personally feel like the Bulls have forgotten what it feels like to win. I really do. And we have to find it somewhere. This West Coast trip is going to be grueling for the Chicago Bulls. And if we see mediocrity in the West Coast trip and we enter Chicago in a much worse condition than when they left Chicago after this Boston Celtics game, then I guess a lot of people's minds will be changed, because that's really how important this stretch of games will be for the Bulls. We'll wait and see what we'll be able to do. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.